Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning indeed, on a beautiful summer Sunday. My name is Val Welsh. I'm our lay presider this morning, and I'm delighted to welcome each and every one of you to our service this morning. Especially delighted to welcome our son Andrew, who's visiting from Ottawa, which always makes me happy. Whether you're here in the sanctuary or joining us online, whether immediately as the service takes place or later in the week, we're thrilled to have you joining us for our service of worship this morning. And whether this is your first visit or you've called BUC your spiritual home for many, many years, we're very glad you're here. Do you want to come and stand beside me, Harrison? Okay. A note for folks online. If you're joining us online, the songs, you know what the deal is? You can come up here, but you have to be quiet. How about that? So if you're joining us online, the words to the songs can be accessed from the BUC website, or there's a link in the weekly email. Either of those spots, you'll be able to find the words to our songs. A great announcement that you may have seen that I think Paige posted on the BUC Facebook page, that our new family ministers leader has been selected and in fact has begun her work with us. Her name is Caitlin Smithers, and Caitlin is in her last year of a divinity degree and has spent the past 4 years in a family minister's role at Hope United. So we're thrilled to have Caitlin with us for this period of time while Paige is off after the birth of her child, who I don't think has arrived yet. Nobody knows. We've heard nothing. So I know that they'll be welcoming that wee one into their home very, very soon. Caitlin and many other BUC families are at Camp Kidston this weekend because it's the Camp Kidston BUC Family Camp weekend. So folks at Kidston, if you're watching us online, we can feel you here with us. And certainly a very warm welcome to Caitlin. I'm sure we'll all have the pleasure of meeting her over the next weeks and months. You may have noticed that the BUC weekly email, and if you're not on the email list, be in touch with the office, is a tad shorter in the summer, but rest assured there are lots of things being planned for the fall. And the first of those is a corn boil, Sunday, August 28th, 5 to 7:30. So please plan to join with all of your friends from BUC at the corn boil. And I must say, I'm pleased to see there's a few more people here today than last week, and it's a long weekend. So thrilled that folks are starting to filter their way back into church on Sundays. One final note to make is that tomorrow, August the 1st, is Emancipation Day. The Government of Canada website notes that on March the 24th, 2021, the House of Commons voted unanimously to officially designate August 1st as Emancipation Day, which marks the actual day in 1834 that the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833 came into effect across the British Empire. The entry on the Canadian Heritage website continues, Canadians are not always aware that Black and Indigenous peoples were once enslaved on the land that is now Canada. Those who fought enslavement were pivotal in shaping our society to be as diverse as it is today. Therefore, each August 1st, Canadians are invited to reflect, educate, and engage in the ongoing fight against anti-Black racism and discrimination. Emancipation Day celebrates the strength and perseverance of Black communities in Canada. Not only were Indigenous peoples once enslaved on the land that is now Canada, they were also removed from their lands. Their ways of life were disrupted and destroyed. The agreements reached between European settlers and Indigenous peoples did not cede ownership of lands, and today we acknowledge that our service is held in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And please join me in our familiar candle lighting, one that I hope is familiar to many. God is here all the time, and all the time, God is here. All are welcome all the time, and all the time, all are welcome. Thank you. And Charlene Cable is leading our music this morning, and we'll move to that.
Well, good morning, everybody. I see some really good singers in the congregation, so I'm hoping that you will join me in singing Like a Healing Stream, 144 out of More Voices, Like a Healing Stream. Let me see. Like a healing stream on a barren desert, spirit water bringing life to dusty earth. God is trickling through our lives as in a dream unfolding, promising revival and rebirth. Like a healing stream. Like a gentle rain on a thirsty garden, spirit water come to nourish tiny seed. God is bubbling through the soil to coax a new creation, yearning for an end to want and need. Like a gentle rain. Like a river strong with a restless current, spirit water rushing on to distant shore. God is carving out a channel in a new direction, calling for an end to hate and war. Like a river strong. Like a mighty sea reaching far horizons, spirit water with love both deep and wide. God is working in our hearts to shape a new tomorrow. God will always challenge and provide. Like a mighty sea, like a river strong, like a gentle rain, like a healing stream. Wonderful. I could hear you singing. That was great. And I forgot to say stand up, if you will. So there. Our next. More voices, number 78. No, it's not 78. No, it's Spirit Open My Heart. 79. There we go. There. To the old familiar tune of Wild Mountain Time. Okay. There. Here we go. Spirit, open my heart to the joy and pain of living as you love, may I love in receiving and in giving. Spirit, open my heart. God, replace my stony heart with a heart that's kind and tender. All my coldness and fear, to your grace I now surrender. Spirit, open my heart to the joy and pain of living as you love, may I love in receiving and in giving. giving. Spirit, open my heart. Write your love upon my heart as my law, my goal, my story, in each thought, word, and deed. May my living bring you glory. Spirit, open my heart to the joy and pain of living as you love me. I love in receiving and in giving. Spirit, open my heart. May I weep with those who weep, share the joy of sister, brother, in the welcome of Christ. May we welcome one another. Spirit, open my heart to the joy and pain of living as you love me. I love in receiving and in giving. Spirit, open my heart. Lovely. Now, hymn number 3. This hymn is out of Voices United. Unfamiliar to me, it was number 23, but I really love the message. It's called Joy Shall Come. As the rose shall deserts blossom. It's lovely. So I'm not sure how familiar it is, so I'll play it once. Maybe I'll sing it once, or we could do it once and then a second time. Are you ready? Here we go. Joy shall come even to the wilderness, and the parched land shall then know great gladness. As the rose shall deserts blossom, deserts like a garden blossom. For living springs shall give cool waters, in the desert stream shall flow. For desert springs shall give cool waters, in the desert stream shall flow. We'll do it a second time. 1, 2, 3. Joy shall come even in the wilderness, and the parched land shall then know great gladness. As the rose shall deserts blossom, deserts like a garden blossom. For living springs shall give cool waters, in the desert stream shall flow. For living springs shall give cool waters, in the desert stream shall flow. Thank you. You may be seated.
Our sacred story this morning is taken from the Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5, verses 13 to 20. Here's another grievous injustice I have seen under the sun, when the rich hoard their wealth to their own detriment, or when people lose everything they have through some great misfortune, unable to leave even a crumb to their children. Naked they come from their mother's womb, and naked they shall return. As you come, so you go, and you can't take it with you. This too is a grievous injustice, that they depart no better than they arrived. What do they gain in all their chasing the wind? They eat their meals in the darkness of their days, in great frustration, ill health, and anger. But then it finally dawned on me. How good, how lovely it is to eat and drink and find satisfaction in everything we do under the sun. During the few days of life God gives us to embrace everything that comes to us. Regardless of how much wealth or possessions God gives, we're also given the ability to find joy in what we have, to accept whatever happens to us, and to find fulfillment in our work. This is God's gift to us. If we embrace whatever comes, we need never to brood over the shortness of life, for God will keep our hearts filled with joy. Here ends our reading today.
Good morning. Good morning, Bedford United Church, all of you here in the sanctuary with us, everyone joining us online, and all of those folks who are at Camp Kidston this weekend on our family weekend. Caitlin, I know you're there too. Welcome to all of you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Reverend Katie Aven. I am the Minister of Congregational Care here at Bedford United Church, and I really feel privileged to be preaching today. We live in a world where our attention is so deeply sought after, right? Everyone wants our attention all the time, and I have yours for this probably 10 to 13 minutes. And so thank you for that. There are companies that pay like millions of dollars in advertising to get your attention for 10 to 13 minutes, so thank you for that. Reverend Matt will be back next week, don't worry. He is coming back. He's coming back. So there's a song, and I am looking in the room here and thinking that everyone in here knows this song. It goes like this. It starts like this. To everything. How does that go, Charlene? Do you remember that song?
To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a reason. There is a reason. Turn, turn, turn. And it turns to every purpose under heaven.
Yeah. Awesome. So you know what y'all just did? You just read the Bible. That is a very well-known reading from the Book of Ecclesiastes. And most of you know it because the Byrds took those verses from the 3rd chapter and put them to music, you know, as a protest song, as a powerful protest song in the 60s, really speaking into the situation of the U.S. war in Vietnam. And when we think about what those lyrics are telling us, it makes sense that the book that they came from is considered wisdom literature in the Hebrew Bible. There's a collection of books in the Hebrew Bible that are called wisdom literature. And when you think about those lyrics, it makes sense because that song is holding these experiences of life in perspective and in relationship to each other. And it's telling us that life is a balance of cycles, right? There's some really good times, and there's some really hard times. And that is the cycle of life, which is great. And there's more to the book of Ecclesiastes, and we heard some of that today. And today, what we heard is like a solid complaint about life, that we work ourselves to the bone our whole lives long, and for what, right? Some people work hard, and they are destitute their whole lives, and their families are destitute their whole lives. And some folks work hard, and they get all the good stuff, right? They get the house, and they get the good clothes, and they drink the good wine, you know, and they have the boat ride and the picnic and all the good stuff. Kids go to school. And even if they manage not to throw it away or lose it accidentally, can't take it with you. So why bother, right? What's the point? So in the 3rd chapter, Ecclesiastes is talking to us about the balance of the cycles of life, but in the 5th chapter, it's saying, yeah, but what's it all for? Right? Like, what's the point? What do we actually get? What do we get? Right? And it seems like kind of a bleak question considering that this is wisdom literature, right? This sounds like bitterness literature. It sounds like despair. It actually sounds like depression when I read it from the lens of mental health. It sounds like depression. What is it all for? What is the point? Why bother? So the wisdom literature is proposing to us to live in life, but the task of living, that task is ours. And sometimes life is hard, right? Things happen that we have no control over, but we got to live with. Illness, job loss, ends of relationships, death, pandemics. And it's true, life can be hard. When I hear that kind of glib refrain, it's like, enjoy life. Life is meant for enjoying. You know, I always have this reaction that I'm just like, but life is kind of hard too. Like, I don't want to fall into this kind of toxic positivity where it's all just like, enjoy life, you know? And that's what Ecclesiastes says to us earlier on. It's a balance, right? There's a balance. But here's the thing. If we succumb to this idea that life is all hard, if we really believe that, you know what? Life's going to take you out, right? So why is this called wisdom literature? Well, what if it's a trick question? What if our reading today is a proposition designed to make us really think about the way we think? You know, like, is this what you think? Is this what you really think about life? Is this who you really want to be? Do you want to be that person, you know, that just feels like it's all futile and why bother? Because you can't take it with you? We have a lot of reasons to be bitter right now, and there are like huge opportunities in our lives to despair. And that is nothing new. What is also not new is the way that we try to fill that in and kind of soothe ourselves. So in the 16th century, Martin Luther, right, the Roman Catholic monk who basically started Reformed Christianity and Protestantism, he wrote this. He wrote, "We are not content with the gifts of God that we have and with their use, but are always anxious and concerned to accumulate riches and honor and glory and fame, as though we were going to live here forever. And meanwhile, we become bored with the things that are present and continually yearn for other things, and then still others." Like, that's me. He wrote that 500 years ago, and it's pretty prescient today, you know? And I was kind of scrolling through the news, I guess that was last month, and I was like, oh wow, it's like all of these catastrophes that are happening halfway around the world, and there's like literally nothing I can do about that. Oh look, it's Amazon Prime Day. Right? Feeling bad about the world, oh look, buy some stuff, it's on sale, and you could really use that, right? So in comes the stuff, right? In comes the stuff that then a year later we're like, literally, why did I get that? But what if that bitterness that we hear in the beginning of our reading is bait that is luring us towards a much more nuanced view of life, something that is more hopeful and something, God willing, is more faithful? What if that complaint, you know, that futility of life is actually like a superdose of medication so bitter tasting that it makes us want to choose a way of living that does not require that bitter pill? One option, which I see around a lot, is to dismiss this life in favor of what would be like the better life or the more spiritual life. You know, like as in leave it all behind and sail the world for a year, or renounce everything and go join a monastery, walk away from it all and find the real meaning, like the real meaning, that thing. But then what? Like, still dishes to wash in the monastery, right? And if you're sailing the world, someone is going to have to repair your boat's engine. And boat owners and sailors out there know what I'm talking about. The engine's going to swamp, right? And you're going to have to deal with that. What?
And the seas are going to
Seas are going to swell. You know, you're going to throw up on that boat. I remember I was on a retreat in the Cistercian convent in Rogersville, New Brunswick, and there was a nun there who was telling me in no uncertain terms that all the problems she had in her life before she joined the sisterhood were the exact same problems that she had in the convent. So this is what I think wisdom literature is trying to tell us, and I think now is the time we really need to hear it. That escape from what we feel like is the futility of life is not through the outdoor, it's through the indoor. Wisdom doesn't lie in living a different life. It lies in living the same life differently. An unexamined life, an unconscious life, can certainly lead to a place of futility and that feeling that you're just chasing the wind. But what if chasing the wind were not for the purpose of catching it? What if chasing the wind was following the Spirit? What if it was the way that we explored the experience of being alive? What if the goal is the journey? What if productivity, wealth, and security are actually not the object of living? What if joy were the object of living? And what if joy was unrelated to whether you had a good day or not? Whether you had a lot of money? So this is the wisdom, and this is the wisdom literature. This is the direction it's pointing us in, and it wants us to get there on our own, right? By giving us this really bleak alternative. But I love it. It puts in a fail-safe because it knows that we're human. We could get stuck there. And that's why the chapter ends with this. For this is the gift from God. They will scarcely brood over the days of their life because God keeps them occupied with the joy of their heart. So I'm going to say that again, and I just want you to let it sink into you. God keeps them occupied with the joy of their heart. Can you imagine what that would be like? We have to imagine something before we can start making it real. So I want you to take a minute right now and imagine what that would look like in your life. God keeps you occupied with the joy of your heart. It's not about the big stuff. It's not the joy that comes from those once-in-a-lifetime experiences. That counts. But that's not what our wisdom literature is talking about. It's not talking about the joy that depends on external factors, like having a great day, right? Because we're just as likely to have a good day as we are a bad day, right? Hamlet says, there is no good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Wisdom literature is talking about ordinary joy, everyday joy, joy that is not impacted by external forces, but comes from the inner spring, the inner source. It comes from the disposition that God is trying to keep you, yes, you, all of you occupied with the joy of your heart. Can we bend our ear to that? Can we shift the gaze of our hearts to see what God is trying to do there? Many of you know that I came to the United Church of Canada after many decades in ministry among Quakers. And among Quakers, we have We talk about this a lot, and we call it constant infinite revelation. It's the belief that tells us that God's revelation is constant in our lives. It is constant in our lives, and that it is never ending. Which means it's never too late to tap into that ordinary joy that is waiting to be found, so that it can transform us out of that tedium of days into living life in joyful anticipation and recognition of the grace that is already unfolding. Constant, infinite revelation. It tells us that there are gifts already at work, that there are blessings we are already receiving, that we have been sent out beyond our recall, and now we get to remember. It's the joy that comes from knowing and believing that God is constantly revealing God's self to us in the beauty and the goodness of the world and in the beauty and the goodness of people, despite the person who cut you off in traffic and despite the bad night's sleep you just had. Wisdom literature is asking us to make a choice not to let those things distract us from the joy that is still knocking on our heart's door. We need to move beyond prescribed ways of encountering God. We need to watch for the center of life in a different way. And for me, it starts with recognizing that God is the reality to which all things respond. And that is the source of joy. We need to shift our gaze to see that life is a gift, and it is the ordinary and constant gift of God. And with my apologies to Anne McVicker, as Anne McVicker said to me this week, heaven is where you find it. Yes, you did. You said that to me. Yes, you did. You'll probably never say anything to me again. So as we come out of this pandemic, like I don't even know if that's what's happening or not. Some people are like, oh, the pandemic's over. And some people are like, the pandemic is not over. So I literally have no idea if we are emerging from this pandemic, but we are certainly in a new world. And in the new world that we are living in, there are a lot of reasons to despair. But we are a people of hope. We follow the way. We are Christians. We follow the way of Jesus. And because of that, we know we need another way. We need another line of sight. And we need our hearts to be occupied by joy more than ever. That joy that is outside of circumstance. That joy that is constant because it rejoices in the simple goodness of being alive. Because it recognizes God's constant, infinite revelation that is always surrounding us, right? Reaching out towards us with that desperate hope that we will recognize it and let our hearts be occupied by it. It does not erase the devastations, but what it does is it creates communion, right? It creates relationship. It gives us hope. And that is healing. That is the healing that is available to us, and that is being offered to us, and that is ours to embrace and to share with others. We need healing. Our world needs healing. And it is there. It is the ordinary, extraordinary joy that moves us beyond surviving and back into living, back into thriving. So I want to finish my sermon with a prayer. Just take a deep breath and pray with me. Creator God, remind us when we forget that opening ourselves to the possibility of you in everything is the path of ordinary joy. that allowing our hearts to be occupied by the joy of your constant, infinite revelation means we seek your beauty in everything, in every person, in every place, in every situation, and in everything. Help us, loving, creating, revealing God, to put ourselves out there and let you lead us towards something greater than ourselves, to the place where what is true for one is true for all, because that is our salvation. And I pray these words joyfully in the name of Christ. Amen. My friends, God is doing God's part, and I will be doing mine right alongside all of you. Thanks be to God. The Spirit in me honors the Spirit in you.
Thank you, Katie. Would you cherish loving arms if you've never shed a tear? Would you welcome going home if you've never been away? Would you treasure guiding hands if you've never been alone? I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't think so. Would you value heaven hope if you've never known despair? Would you treasure being safe if you've never lost your way? Would you cherish gentle words if you've never been afraid? I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't think so. If we knew the love that the Lord has shown to all, if we really try to do what God has planned for us, then we'd love each other more. We would find new happiness. Yes, I think so. Yes, I think so. I really do think so.
Thank you, Charlene. We're so blessed to have so much talent among us. At this point, I'll invite Anne and Don McVicker to come forward. They will be collecting our offering this morning. And wise people say how we spend our money reveals what is important to us. And our gifts to BUC enable the work of our community. If you see people passing their hands over the plates, that just means that their gifts come to us invisibly and automatically and magically almost through the power of the internet. So their givings come by PAR, pre-authorized remittance. And if you're interested in becoming a member of PAR, or you're interested in obtaining envelopes, just be in touch with the church office. Jen is back, I think, on Tuesday, and she will happily get you set up to do all of those things. Let's pause for a moment of prayer. Eternal Spirit, thank you for giving us the means to offer our gifts of time, of talent, and of money. Help us to use these gifts to bring healing and support to the world and to ourselves. Amen. Thank you. When I was thinking about the service today, and I got a little glimmer of what Katie's talk might be about, the Robert Frost poem came to my mind, his poem, The Road Not Taken. It's very short, and I hope you'll indulge me to read it. So, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I think Katie's message reminded me of the poem because finding joy and meaning in the ordinary is difficult amid the noise and hustle of our daily lives. The road not taken to me evokes some serenity and peace. It seems to me that would make it easier to appreciate the joy and the meaning in the ordinary and everyday things. I invite you to join me in prayer. Creative and eternal God, we yearn to find joy in every moment, but find ourselves distracted. Open our hearts and minds to really see the beauty in the world around us. Help us still to see the hurt that persists and give us the courage to act in small ways and large to make the world a better place. Amen.
Well, now, would you join me? And I think we're supposed to stand up for this. More voices. 142. Oh, a song must rise. It's a little lively, so if anybody feels like clapping along during the chorus, feel free. Oh, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. Oh, a song must rise once again, singing out God's praises and glory, the faithful voices and oh, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. From the mountains to the valleys, from the deserts to the sea, a song must rise once again. From the voices of our leaders, the voice of you and me, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. Oh, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. Oh, a song must rise once again, singing of God's praises and glory, the faithful voices and oh, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. From the poverty and riches, from the voices young and old, a song must rise once again. and the free and the imprisoned, the timid and the bold. A song must rise for the Spirit to descend. Oh, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. Oh, a song must rise once again, singing out God's praises and glory, the faithful voices and oh, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. From every house of worship, in every faith and tongue, a song must rise once again. From the villages and cities, a new song must be sung. A song must rise for the Spirit to descend. Oh, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. Oh, a song must rise once again, singing out God's praises and glory, the faithful voices, and oh, a song must rise for the Spirit to descend. Thank you.
Happy to invite all who are here in person with us to join us in the parking lot or at the crossing for a chance to chat and catch up with one another on such a beautiful day. And on behalf of Katie and Charlene and our able tech team of Paul and Nathan back there, and Anne and Dawn and everyone behind the scenes and myself, thank you for joining us for worship this morning. It's a pleasure to be with each and every one of you. We hope you found our service to be thought-provoking, uplifting, and meaningful, and we hope to see you again really soon, in person or online. And I leave you with a thought from Dr. Martin Luther King that I think gets to the heart of Katie's message. Dr. King said, "The quality, not the longevity, of one's life is what is important." So, let us go out into the world determined to find the ordinary joy in the things that we see and do every day, and perhaps spend a little bit of time on that road less traveled. Amen.